Hey everybody, this is the 8th House Dharma podcast, a place where we talk about sexuality and death and transformation through the lens of Dharma. I'm your host, Laura May PJ. This is my face tonight. This is a visual podcast. It might only happen once. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Thank you for listening. It's been really sweet to hear back from some of you and just start to feel like a conversation rippling. Tonight's going to be fun. I'm going to speak for hopefully a short time because it's the new moon in Leo. And so one of my real intentions in this podcast is to explore the seasonal energies, the seasonal wisdoms, we could say, elements, right? Leo is kind of like our personal fire. It's the sun. It's August, right? It's this moment in time, like peak heat. And to explore that through the lens of alchemy and tantra. And when I use the word tantra here, I'm not talking about neo-tantra. I'm not talking about kind of specific practices with like sexual energies. That's a part of tantra. I'm speaking from a Vajrayana Buddhist tradition, where the word tantra means continuity. Right? And what that means is that we're taking, we don't really have to do anything, but we're aiming to realize the complete union of an awakened nature of mind with all phenomena that is continuous through all of our experience, that in a way, I don't really like the word transcends, but that kind of swallows up duality, right? That like awakened belonging, union, bliss is at once at home with the good and the bad, and the blame and the praise, and the fear and the excitement, right? There's so much more to say about that, but that's just a small piece to say that when we talk about tantra or alchemy being these paths of transformation, right? Like tantra is usually described as like the poison path, right? Like the peacock can eat poison and then transform that poison into like the beautiful display of the colors of the peacock feathers, right? From a mind training perspective, that transformation is about our perception, which includes, our subtle material body, okay? So, we can work with astrology through that lens. We can work with astrology as like, whew, okay, wow. How would the heat of Leo, how would the kind of brazen swagger of this sign that is so related to charisma and leadership and performance, creativity, children, play, how might we work with that on kind of an alchemical path? Yeah. So many pieces. Hopefully, my intention also is that by the end of this, 15, 20 minutes, you'll have like a really fun thing to take with you to just play with in Leo season, to just play for the next month of like, how does this kind of inform my practice, whether or not you have a formal seated meditation practice, whether or not you're involved in tantric Vajrayana worlds at all, that you could still kind of take this and just work directly with the element, directly with the energy. That's what a lot of Tantra is really about, is like, whew, I'm going right in. I'm going right into the energy of what's here. Yeah? Okay, so let's just kind of break down Leo energy for a second. When I was initially thinking about this, what really came up strongly was this difference between self-esteem and self-confidence. And I forget where I first heard it broken down like that, but I appreciated it so much because I don't know if you kind of follow different astrologers. I know that for the past week I've been getting kind of inundated, and the word like confidence will come up a lot. People are drawn to confidence in a leader, what you project, what you shine, how you shine into the world. But confidence is so fickle, right? Like I have confidence in plenty of areas in my life that doesn't necessarily link to esteem, right? Confidence can be related to, like, I have confidence in my academic abilities. Other people have confidence in their physique. Other people have confidence in their ability to run a certain distance in a certain time. Does that or does that not give us a deep sense of belonging and goodness in our own beings? Sometimes not. Personally, I want a level of esteem in myself and a level of freedom in myself that can swallow up both the times when I'm feeling really confident and like, God, I'm having a good hair day, I'm looking fly, and the times when I feel like shit, and times when I'm just like, I'm in my pajamas, I'm sick, everything sucks. Like I want a level of inner knowing of my own radiance that holds all of that. That is fucking hot. That's what I'm going for. That is the level of freedom that's on offer for discovery, right? It's here all the time, but do we discover it? Do we sit down into it in a tantric path, right? And it's interesting too, I'll just name here, because a lot of times I think in ways astrology gets presented, it's kind of like, oh, they're the good sides of Leo. Self-love, charisma, play, creativity. And there are the bad sides of Leo. Narcissism, arrogance, self-importance, self-centeredness. It's interesting, in Tibetan Vajrayana, we'll relate that a lot to what they call like Ratna, like earth element. That's related to pride, right? That's kind of like, can go in both directions. And I really like this delineation. They'll say like you can have pride in both directions, of both like being so self-absorbed in yourself that's like your kind of pain body story, like, oh, I feel terrible about myself, and that actually undergirds like arrogance, right? Which is kind of the thing with like a lot of times very confident people have very low self-esteem, right? There's like a black hole in there where the sun could be. But they can project a lot of confidence. So what if instead of doing this like good or bad thing, we're just working directly with that energy of like, whew, if I sit right down right now and I'm kind of putting my hands here at my solar plexus, like what's this sense of me, myself being in the world? Cancer, last season, last element, we talked about feeling. Like what kind of allowance, what kind of range do I have with feeling and with making feeling safe? So if we're, let's, hope we're in a safe place. I'm in my kitchen. It's feeling pretty good. Do I get to shine? Is there that sense of like, like, wow, I am, there's a goodness here inherent to me. Yeah. So, a way that we can work directly with Leo energy, wherever you are on that spectrum at any given moment, right? Because all of us have qualities on all sides of this. Some days we have really arrogant days. Some days you're feeling like super fly. Some days you're like really so identified in your pain body, but it's still kind of like all about me. Like we all have qualities on that spectrum. Yeah. So how do we kind of like get right into that and use it? Get right into it and use it, right? One thing that Leo can be really good about, Leo energy, shiny energy, putting it out there energy, playing energy, is that there's a play and a creativity and certain elements of performance. And we can harness that really in a like fake it till you make it kind of energy. So I'm thinking about a good friend of mine. I lived with her in Colorado for a while. And I had just moved to Colorado. She's a lot of Leo energy, right? And I was pretty heartbroken. I was like in love with someone. I was living in the Bay. It was one of the best years of my life. I had a great job. I had just done this great training and kind of landed in Colorado. And God bless my new housemate, had so many clothes. It was insane. So I get to my room that should be like my room, and the closet has some clothes in it. And I was like, you know what? I'm looking through this closet. I'm like, damn, these are like very nice pieces. I was like, okay, tell you what, you can keep your clothes in my closet, but I get to wear them. So I spent the first few weeks of my graduate program like so mopey. I was feeling so mopey inside and just so kind of bereft and washed out. But then I would open the closet and I would just pull out these like really nice like free people dresses, like $300 worth of like finely tailored lace. And I would just put on some red lipstick, put on some heels. And I was like, well, I'll be damned. It turns out you really can't walk around town being like super depressed when you're wearing $300 of finely tailored lace. Like I had to like step into it a little bit, right? I had to step into that. So that's a very just like ground level, right? Like material embodied way that Leo can play, right? That's like, okay, here I have some story about myself. I have some story about my personality. And I can actually take play and like sex appeal in a way as a way to just like, okay, well, what if I just imagine, what if I just play with this? That kind of cranked up and it accessed something that was resource. And it didn't mean that I was like a bypassing the grief or anything like that. It just was it was fun. It just brought in some fun and some light. And sometimes that's what we want, right? We want light. Okay. If we take that into a practice of deeper alchemy or tantra, okay, then we can really look at, and this is like the heart of what I wanted to offer you tonight. We can really look at one of kind of the heart practices of Vajrayana, and nothing that I'm saying here right now is like super secret or anything. It's just, this is a fun thing that you can play with, right? So we talk about different lineages of Buddhism. We'll talk about different stages of Tantra. They have different definitions, right? But a very easy way that we could think about it would be that you have stages of Tantra that are more rooted in duality. And what I mean by that is the sense that I, Laura Mae PJ, am separate from you, friend, new friend, old friend who's listening to this podcast. I'm separate from divinity. I'm separate from plant on my fridge, right? And that's like our relational worlds. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how we exist a lot. In those stages of Tantra, we are often praying and engaging in practices as ourselves. So this looks like a simple thing of, let's take a Leo theme. Let's say I'm working on some aspect of my self-esteem. There's some part of myself where actually I feel like I don't belong. Or that I can't shine. Or here's a big Leo pain point, that it's not safe to shine. That I tried giving my light to someone, and it turns out I felt exposed and not seen. It turns out they shamed me for the thing I think is most beautiful about myself. Huge contraction, right? Okay, so let's say I'm working on that. In earlier stages of Tantra, I would be situated as like Laura. And I'm praying, I'm asking for blessings, right? I'm asking for blessings from different faces, different aspects of divinity to kind of grace and support me, right? Maybe I need support at my back to get through something. Maybe I'm looking for like a kind of nurturing, like maternal love. Maybe I want something like kind of fierce, kind of feisty, right? Maybe I want like Vajrayogini. Okay. Then as we kind of go on, that sense of duality of I am separate from you, I'm separate from plant, I'm separate from divinity is dissolved. I mean, it's not solid anyway, but we realize the emptiness of it, the dissolution of it. And we actually like take our seat as divinity. So then the practice is, instead of a constant supplication to something outside me becomes the practice of taking my seat as who I actually am, as how I actually am. And from that place, that sun really, then the practice is like an offering. Then I'm giving, then I'm giving, then I'm giving, then I'm giving, and I'm receiving blessings. It's this constant flow, right? So from this sense, when we take that kind of Leo energy, that's fiery, that's creative, that's playful, that's really sexy, that's really confident. If we apply the kind of fake it till you make it to our inner life, to our inner spiritual lives, then instead of like, me stepping into my friend's closet and being like, oh my God, I'm going to look so sexy today, I can't even afford to be depressed, Instead of that, it's almost like I'm not putting something on, I'm not adding something to be performative, I'm taking things off. I'm actually getting more naked, and the things I'm taking off are very like stuck, painful ideas about who I am. I'm stuck in this personality. Leo really is like, in a relational, dualistic way, Leo is our personality, just like me. Hey, here I am. This is how I like to play. I can take off aspects of that constrict me. I can really start to question aspects of that collapse, right? And you can track it in yourself. You can feel like sometimes the collapse is really there. Sometimes there's a real puffed upness, don't bullshit yourself, right? Where you think you're like a little bit better than other people. Again, like we both have both of those sides of it, right? So whatever side you're on, whatever you feel most in this moment, I think most people I know are navigating a lot more of the like, I'm a hopeless piece of shit, like you get right into that. And it's like, ooh, then you can start to just play with like, with a little bit of like putting it on, stepping into a more divine nature of yourself. Except in this case, you're really not faking anything. You're actually, it's like a game of like, fake it till you make it, but you're already it. And you were pretending you weren't. And now you're helping yourself remember by playing this fun Leo game. Yeah. And so if you're not, I think most of you are not like doing a Vajrayana sadhana. Here's how to use this. Here's how to play with this. Like, wow. Can we just pause for a second? Like, how would you feel in this life if like from your childhood, you knew in your heart how deeply you belong and how holy and sacred and beautiful and sexy you are? It's so hard for Leo sometimes to not be seen. Like, oh God, if I go to perform and I'm on stage and I sing my aria and it's stunning and like the lights go up and like nobody was there, actually, nobody clapped. Talk about a kick in the chest. Talk about devastating. Actually taking our seat. In Vajrayana, we call it like, it's like Vajra pride. It's indestructible pride. And when it's framed like that, the pride is not about arrogance. Because really at that point, it's not a self. It's not like, I'm a god. It's like that fabric of divinity is inseparable from me. So you can just play with like, whoa, what would it be like to take my seat there, to seat myself there? And it is a bit of a fake it till you make it. How many of us are used to really like living life from that place? So then it's just like a game of what if? Like, what would that feel like? What would that feel like? Because that level of esteem, that kind of Vajra pride, can encapsulate, like when I'm feeling really sexy, really playful, really confident, when I'm a really great leader. It can also encapsulate when I totally fail as a leader, when I totally fail as a friend, as a lover, as a parent, all the things, whatever the things are. Like, it's the whole totality of it. Yeah. And if this is all too, if you're coming, let's say, let's take it from like a Christian spiritual standpoint, then the what if would be to really know yourself as beloved by God. That's maybe somewhere kind of in that middle of like the early stages, the later stages, somewhere in the middle of like, I am deeply beloved and chosen. Yeah. And not chosen as like being above someone else who's now below you, but to be of God. Yeah, if you want to use that language. So a fun way to play with this, I was doing this on a hike yesterday, and it was really enjoyable, actually. It was like, wow. You know, one thing I really love about Indic traditions is how, and I guess really Greek mythology is like this as well. I've just spent much more time steeped in Indic traditions, is how kind of wild and all over the place the gods are. How there's a god for everything, you know, and how they're not all put together and holy. They do outlandish things. They have outlandish quirks. So really thinking about kind of playing with that Leo energy, I was like, wow, what would it be like if I took like my embodied weirdness and awkwardness and failures and just me, my package. How could I like make that more mythic? How could I make that more like godlike? Not in an arrogant way. And the more I played with it, like actually it's kind of it's a beautiful loop that having that Vajra pride actually is incredibly humbling. You don't need to puff up anymore because the sun is there. There's not a big black hole there. There's a sun there. And when the sun's there, it's not arrogant pride. It's like, whoa. Then the sun easily recognizes all the other suns and wants to like shine together. Yeah. But so I was kind of playing with like, ooh, what would my like wild mythic god self be like to kind of take my seat in? Knowing that a lot of folks aren't, you know, doing technical Vajrayana sadhanas, right? And like, to just start to play, to start to use that, right? Like, this energy, this season, this time of year, this kind of fire also rules children, creativity. And I'm thinking of how like, you know, if you gave this assignment to little kids in like a kindergarten or something to like, you know, to make yourself mythic, would you have dragon wings? Would you, like, I was thinking about how I'm somehow getting more asymmetrical as I age. I don't really understand it. And I was like, okay, I think I might have 4 arms on one side and 3 arms on the other side. Which would be great because 7's a great number. And if that was like godlike, that'd be cool. Like my divine self could totally have 7 arms and that would be awesome. Instead of like here, I'm like, oh my God, my face is getting more asymmetrical. But like that can also just be brought right in as like, whoa, how is this like a weird, quirky, amazing thing that begins to, as we just play with creativity in that way, it opens us into like the first stage of alchemy, which is like dissolving what feels solid, dissolving the parts of my personality that feel so stuck, right? Dissolving that we dissolve and we learn new habits, new ways of perceiving much more quickly when we do it through play. Yeah. That's the invitation. That's what I've been thinking about this Leo season. I'll say something in a few weeks that's more about fire. That's a bit more directly about fire and less about, the sort of psycho-spiritual aspects of Leo. But the sweet invitation is to just kind of play with fire and with what it might feel like to really have a holy self-esteem. To really play with that, to allow yourself that. Are you allowed to love yourself? Knowing that feeling that love deeply does not inflate your ego in a negative sense, right? It fills you. And when that sun is full, it shines. And that's the most beautiful aspect of Leo, when it's really on, right? When there's just such a fullness that's like, whoa. Not only is there such a sense of like belonging and like knowing of myself that gives me courage, but like, wow, I got some beautiful things here, and here they come. They're coming at you. They're coming at, like the sun just is shining. That's a huge gift. That's a huge gift that's happening all the time. Yeah. So okay, that's it. Go play with right now images of yourself as a wild god or goddess or divine being or divine, strange, monstrous creature. Play with how faking it till you make it in your image of self can be really liberating. Let me know how it goes. Like this podcast if you like it. Like it if you like it. Share it with people if you like it. Give me feedback. I'd love to hear. It's been really fun to hear from you all. And I love you so much. Happy new moon in Leo. May we all really know and feel the light of our being. May we share that light with others. May we be surrounded by people and plants and animals and creatures and sky and earth and gods and goddesses and daemons who support us in knowing our light and shining really for the benefit of all. All right. See you next time.